Hello, everyone. Simon here with AvaTrade. Happy New Year. We actually made it. It's 2022 and we started the new year. And I personally look forward to the beginning of the year and, of course, to all the aspects of it, especially into trading, as trading, I think, is my biggest passion, together with a few other things. But it's the biggest. I hope you're enjoying it too. Of course, I hope you had an amazing celebration and you got together with your families and you got some energy and you're ready. And I guess some of us made some New Year resolutions. Some of those are around financial prosperity and other things. So I want to take an opportunity and to wish all of us and all of you and everyone an amazing year. First of all, a healthy year and prosperous, happy, successful year. And let's make it happen. Okay. Before we go in any explanation or anything, this is an important part. We'll go through the risk warning. Any capital markets and trading information disclosed in this webinar is provided for informative purposes only and should not be construed or applied as investment advice, recommendation, or suggestion. CFDs are complex instruments and come with a high risk of losing money rapidly due to leverage. 71% of retail investor accounts lose money when trading CFDs with this provider. You should consider whether you understand how CFDs work and whether you can afford to take the risk, the high risk of losing your money. And you can find the full risk disclosure statement at avatrade.com. So this is our agenda. And for those of you that are new, I just want to spend a few words explaining what's the whole idea behind it. And for those of you that are returning, please excuse me for repeating it every time, but it is important. So the idea is actually, it's in the title, weekly trading plan. The whole idea is really to have a plan for the week. And I always say it and I'll say it again, you plan your trade and then you trade your plan. And it creates structure, it creates direction, creates understanding, and a plan is a plan. We have to stick to it. So this is the whole idea. And what we do usually, we go through a few fundamentals. We look at economic calendar for some important events that coming out in upcoming week. And then we'll go to a trading terminal, and then we'll go to specific instruments and try to look what's happening there and what could be possible scenarios for the upcoming week. And we'll go to the calendar in a moment. I'll just bring it back. Uh, on the big picture, we finished the year. It was a great year for the Wall Street. As I said in the past few weeks, that they will try to bring it to the highs and close it on the highs, just to make sure that everybody gets paid big fat bonuses there. And I think I mentioned last time that the Goldman Sachs announced they actually increased the bonuses by 50%. So it's a fun time on Wall Street. Everybody's excited. I think February, March, they're getting their bonuses. So it's a great celebration there besides the New Year's and everything else. So they did close it. And now we're facing the reality. We start on Monday, we're starting a new year trading. Some markets are going to be closed. US market is open. Friday, the US market was open. We'll go and take a look at it in a moment, what happened there. Most of the other markets were closed, so it was a pretty much low volume day. As far as the big picture, COVID is still there. US is reporting the record highs in COVID cases, other countries taking measures, their masks coming back to play, unfortunately. In a lot of places, there was a lot of issues. There were a lot of issues with traveling. Some flights were canceled during the Christmas. Some flights were canceled before the New Year's. COVID's still there, unfortunately. Hopefully, things will get better. Now, the pill of Pfizer and Moderna, I think, is being contributed all over the world now. So a lot of people really think that that will help a lot to reduce terrible complication and deaths. So let's see how that works out. Okay, so as far as economic calendar, this week I just brought up something that's the most important as far as the impact. We have retail sales from Germany. We have manufacturing PMI on Tuesday from the US. On Wednesday, we have the ADP employment numbers. That's something that will indicate what we see on Friday. We'll get there in a moment. Also, we have the FOMC minutes for December meeting. We'll see what's happening there as far as the policies and so on. This is very important on Wednesday. Thursday, we have the consumer price index from Germany and service PMI from the US. And Friday is very, very important day. As you know, the first Friday of the year. We are focusing mostly on non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rates. And that's something that we all are focusing on. And this is the most impactful event of the month, usually. For those of you that are new, non-farm payroll creates a lot of volatility when the announcement comes out. It's being watched by most of the traders that are preparing for this day. Also, we have unemployment from Canada and CPI numbers from European Union and the retail sales. So that's as far as the economic calendar. So let's switch now to the terminal, and then we'll go through certain instruments. So we'll go through some indices. We'll start with indices and see a little bit of a big picture of what's been happening and what's the plan. We'll go through commodities. That would be energy, metals, and some soft commodities. Then we'll go to dollar index and the Forex world. And then we'll finish with stocks and take a look at Bitcoin as well. So let's start with indices. We'll start with US indices, and that's the S&P. That's a weekly chart. So we did close on the highs. S&P's record highs. And just for your information, S&P actually beat the other indices, the Nasdaq and Dow Jones this year, and that only happened 6 times in the history, pretty much. And that was 1984, 1989, 1997, 2004, 2005. So S&P beat Dow Jones by 8% and it beat Nasdaq by 5.5%. Now let's take a look how it looks on the chart. So we did close on the highs, and we give let's go to daily chart. Even though the last 3 days it was a little bit sliding down, but we still close on the highs on S&Ps. Nasdaq didn't reach the new high this week, and Dow Jones we did have a spike above it, but we didn't close higher. So S&P is the leader. And there are different predictions actually, and I want to really mention it, something that speaks on a high scale of what could be the scenario and so on. So there are different opinions. Some analysts are saying that we might see a uh, flat year, the upcoming year, and I'll explain what we're expecting. The main focus in the upcoming year, of course, the COVID is a big player in what's happening, but on in the eyes of the Wall Street, the biggest thing that's being followed is the scenario or how we're going to play with the increase in the interest rates, and that's something that will create a lot of volatility on the market. And of course, as of now, there are expectations that we'll have in this year already, 2022, we'll have at least 3 increases in interest rates, and that would give a little bit of a downside pressure to the market potentially, even though some investors are predicting that we might see a move. Just give you an example, the Credit Suisse, they forecasting the level for S&Ps for the end of the year 5,200. So that's about 400 higher from it's about 9% move to the upside for this year. And the same time, Morgan Stanley is predicting about 8% decline, and they're saying that the price towards the end of the year will be about 4,400. So, of course, those are predictions. We're here to see and try to make the best we can do in the upcoming year. So, big scale. It's very simple. We're on the high, so the high of the all-time high of S&Ps would be 47.99.5. These are the futures, so almost 4,800. So that's our next resistance in a simple way. As far as to the downside, there was a lot of zigzagging in the past few weeks. So if we're not breaking the highs, we'll be looking for some support. And I don't want to set any levels now because we're in a different territory. How true this move was, again, I want to repeat, every year the Wall Street, they really struggling and pushing and doing everything to close on the highs. So we could see, as January counts, we could see what's next. Are they going to try to break through and get the stops, or try to fake the move higher, or it's going to be a real move higher? We don't know. Or they're going to start pushing things lower and kind of look for support. So one level that we might draw for ourselves is this. That's where this long recent move stopped, and the high there was 47.11.5. So if we are moving lower, it's going to be a fight over here. I don't know if we go straight through this level, but 47.11, 47.11.5 for S&Ps, that's the next level of support. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ is actually already below this level here. That's similar what we just marked for S&Ps. That's what this long move higher finish, and this high was at 16,375.25. So we are trading already below it. So that's a signal that we're getting into this zone of retesting this level. So far we closed below. This is the first closure, the recent closure below it. So let's see how this price action plays itself. Dow Jones, similar idea as NASDAQ. No wonder S&P really was stronger because it's still holding up. And on Dow Jones, this is where this move finished, and from here we actually had the sell. And there were some articles that showed price action as a double top, and they see that Dow Jones will be falling and kind of retesting this previous levels from which we bounced. So we are having a hard time holding about 36,370, and we might slide lower. And I'm not sure if we're going to go to this level or this level, but logically speaking, technically speaking, maybe 35,500. That's where we had a lot of actions here around here, and then retesting a few times. So 35,500 on Dow Jones could be a next strong support. We could find it even in these levels here, but I just marked this level as the next strong one where there was a lot of resistance before we broke through it. So that's as far as US indices. Let's take a look at European indices. Let's take a look at FTSE. FTSE gapped up after a break on Christmas, and then we sold, and we pretty much had the triple top in a way over here on the daily chart. And now we're gonna try to find a support because we didn't manage to close about it. There was a sell-off over here, and this gap up didn't work as well. We closed the gap and went lower. So potentially we could move lower on FTSE. This is the daily chart, just to remind you. And potentially, if we're sliding lower, we could go to around 70,200, 7190 area on FTSE. DAX, we had, after this huge sell-off, we tried to climb higher, and this was the level over here on the 28th, and that was 15,863. And this is our next resistance for the upcoming days and weeks. And if we fail to break through it, we might slide lower and look for some support over here. And Nikkei, let's take a look at Nikkei. Nikkei had an up week, but we still, after this strong sell-off the week of 21st of November, we didn't really recover it. We're trading kind of in the middle of this range. So if you look at the daily chart with all these tails, we are really having a hard time going higher, and potentially we could see some weakness in the upcoming week. Let's take a look already at Nifty. That's the Indian index that we discussed. It was strong when the market pulled it and didn't, and now we're kind of making a lower lows and lower highs, and on the 31st we confirmed this level of resistance here around 17,430, 440. And if we're not closing, excuse me, and if we're not managing to close above it, we'll probably go and look for some support. And this level, the initial drop, could be the next support here around 16,800, 16,900 for the FTSE. So that's as far as indices. They tried, like I said, the S&P is the only one that closed higher this last week. The rest of the indices, including the Europeans and Asia, they didn't manage to confirm that highs. And let's see how this week starts. Of course, NFPs will bring more clarity to it and more direction. So let's move to commodities, and we start with energy. Crude oil. Let's take a look at the action of crude oil. This was the level that we tried to play with. We dropped from here back in 2018. We came and play around it around summertime. Then we had a nice move higher, and then we closed below it in November. And now we still have to drop even lower to around 63, 62 area. We tried to retest it, we couldn't break it. So this high here, around 76.80, I'd say $77, or between 76 and 77. It's been a strong resistance here. So I guess this breakout was kind of a fake one, even though it lasted for a nice 6-7 weeks. Maybe they got the stops and bring it in back into this area. Anyway, unless we see any closing about 76, 77, we might start sliding lower on crude oil. Of course, it depends how the market is playing itself, and on the inventories and the OPEC and all the other aspects. And of course, the winter time, the usage, the traveling, it depends a lot on what COVID is doing and so on. It's a lot of fundamental issues that might affect crude oil either way. But as of now, the 76 to 77 area, that's the strong resistance that so far we don't manage to break to the upside. If we are selling, these recent spikes would be to watch 62, 63 level. Like I said, that's the next support. So that's a nice range to trade if you're a swing trader or day trader or a midterm trader. Natural gas. Before I go to the chart, there's a lot of issues. Biden is discussing things with Putin. They're putting a lot of pressure on Putin over Ukraine buildup. Putin still building up army around Ukraine. A lot of threats, a lot of communications there, and so on. So natural gas, as we know, is the main product of Russia, and they're really showing the muscles in it. I think they cut supply to Europe and so on. So natural gas is a sensitive issue these days. And technically speaking, this is the daily chart. After this move to 6.5, almost 6.5 area, this is a daily chart. We were zigzagging, making a lower highs, lower lows, and we came to plateau around this level here, around 360 area, 360. Then we had few spikes below it, and Friday we closed on the highs. And let's see if we are holding this 360 area. You know, if you take the tails, so the low so far on this move was 364.6. Sorry, 351.6. So 350, 351, 352. We tried, we didn't break it, and actually this was the low over here at 351.9 before we made this robust move to the high. So a lot of accumulations happening here. Again, hypothetically, anything could happen. We can move and break and start closing, move lower. If you look at the weekly chart, there is actually space to the lower levels here. But we are really facing a strong support over here, and we're not gonna guess. It's very simple. We need to break out of this really consolidating area between 350 and 4, and shows either some weakness to the downside or strength to the upside. We did close this gap, and that was on the 29th, but we did move lower after that. So Friday, the last session of the year, was to the upside. So hopefully it might continue to the upside. But we need to break again out of this $4 zone, and probably that would show us a potential move higher. So natural gas is in focus. Let's move to metals, and we start with gold. Very strong. If you look at the daily chart, with the last 2 days were very strong, and Friday we closed pretty much on the highs, and we are actually challenging here. We testing the 1832, 1, 2, 3, 4. This was a breakout. They came right back in. So 1832 is a key level for us to break. And so far, we're looking good after this strong consolidation accumulation here in this tight range, and then we broke through it. We confirmed the top of the range, and with a few fake attempts to break down, we're actually moving higher, closing on the highs for the 2 sessions in a row. So 1832, if we start closing higher, the next retest would be around 1850, 1870 area for the last resistance that we had over here. Very interesting to watch what gold is doing. Silver, similar idea. We spoke about silver a few weeks back, and I said that if gold moves, silver actually over here started to lift its head up after confirming this support over here, and it looks good for possible continuation to the upside. Palladium didn't do so good. It had the sell-off in the past 3 sessions, but 1832 area here is a support. So far we didn't reach that level. And sorry, that's platinum or palladium. No, that was palladium. I get confused sometimes. So it is a palladium. The 1832 support around 2000, that's a resistance there. On platinum, it didn't follow the gold for this 2 days move. It closed flat the last day, and we're not gonna guess here. I guess if it chooses to go higher, we need to break the 984 area. All these tails over here to the upside. Copper moved higher with the market, and I think we'll be watching the copper, of course, in general, what's happening in the market, what's happening in China. because it's of course something that's in demand for construction, and China is one of the biggest user of it. So it's typical that when the Chinese are reporting good economic news, the copper is moving to the upside. But as of now, as you can see, the last session we were given a little bit of this advanced move, and 446, 447 area. It's a resistance that will be hard to break. There was a lot of actions here. We moved down from this level. We retested it a few times, and retested it again, and retested it again. So this area, it's a hard one to break. Let's take a look at soft commodities for a moment, and we'll take a look at wheat. Wheat is back to retest support, and we right at these levels here. This was where we stopped this move higher. We retested here. We confirmed its support over here, and now we're fighting for this level again around 760, 770 area. We'll see what's happening in upcoming days. If we start closing lower, we might go and retest the recent lows and might even continue to the downside. Soybeans had a nice move together with corn. We'll see it in a moment. Just want to draw the line to show you the levels. So this is where we stopped, from which we went lower. We just retested it a few days ago. We failed to go higher, and now we're sliding lower. Potentially we could come back to 1300 area over here and see what's next. Corn, similar idea. We moved higher. It was a nice move with a few pullbacks, and this last week we give away some profits, and potentially we could go and retest this support over here. A lot of actions here. There was a resistance for a while, as you could see here. Then the moment we established some price action about it, we made a nice move after accumulation. So now they're bringing it back possibly to retest around 380, 390 area over here on corn. So that's as far as commodities. Let's move into Forex world. We'll start with dollar index. Now, dollar index, we spoke about it for a while, and we said that we've been holding 96 level, and with all the spikes, we couldn't break it. And this is the first time we broke it in a long time. In a few weeks, we said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, we held about 96. We didn't close below it, pretty much. And now we below 96. What's next? We'll see. We'll see what NFPs bring. We'll see. First of all, let's try to be consistent. And this is the tail that we had recently a month ago on the 30th of November. And the low here was 95.525. And the low on Friday was 95.552. So 52, 53 over here. We'll see if we're holding in here. We might hold it, we might not. So this is something to watch on dollar index. And of course, we'll take a look now at the majors and see how it reflects them. So USD CAD moved lower on the weakness of US dollar, and of course, for those of you not familiar with the correlation, as oil moved a little bit higher, that brought, excuse me, Canadian dollar high as well. But this is the level that I would expect to hold. And 126.35, this was the large candle that had the low here, 126.34. We did break through that with the tail, but we closed higher. So we closed on Friday 126.44. So if we are holding this level and we see some strength in the dollar and the weakness in Canadian dollar and oil, we might see a bounce from here. And just to show you the weekly chart, after this a higher low and trying to make a higher high, if we established a support here and then make another attempt to 29, I'm talking about a long run a little bit here, that this might create a continuation to the upside. So technically on the weekly chart, this is a very strategic level around 126.5 to 125.5. Let's see how it plays itself in upcoming days on USD CAD. USD Swiss, same thing. It's retesting the strong support that we couldn't break through. Take a look how many attempts we had here, pretty much to the penny. Then we moved higher, another one and another one. So 0.90 is the key level for dollar Swiss to hold here. USD, Euro USD. It was a strong move lower, a lot of consolidation. We couldn't break below 112. We did have the tail below it, but never closed below 112. So 112.44, that's what all these initial moves stopped. 112.50, okay, 112.50. And the last two sessions were moving higher. So if we are planning on moving higher, we really need to break this area over here. We had few attempts here, fail attempt, and we broke through it, had a nice run to the upside, came right below it. So 114 is the next key level, psychological and technical level to break. If we do, we might start to climb and take one step at the time. British pound, also after establishing, this is the weekly chart, just to remind you. After establishing its support here at these levels, and you could see, if you look to the left, it shows why they stopped here. There was a lot of actions here. There was a resistance, there was a resistance, there was a resistance. Finally, we set up a support. After that, we moved a very nice to the upside, where the double top came right back to retest it. We actually succeeded to hold this level around 132 and a half, 131 and a half, 132. Now we're on the move, on the way to the move higher. And this level over here from which was sold out, the high here was 135.14. We're right at this level. So that's going to be very interesting to watch. If we are closing about 135.15, 135.20, and the dollar remains weak, and we have some good news from UK, we might see the move to the upside. Again, Friday is NFPs. That's, of course, going to be affecting the US dollar, first of all, and all the major currency pairs will be affected. Australian dollar. Similar idea. Let's move to daily chart so I get a little bit more clarity. Take a look. We are really hitting the same level here, can't break through it. And on the weekly chart, let's take a look. Right here, you see the move down started from here, a lot of actions here. Another move up after we created a mirror level here, that it was a resistance here, it became a support, and we're hitting the same spot, 0.7260. So it looks like all the major indices are facing the same issue. They're really facing a strong level of resistance. They are trying to break to the upside from the recent falls, but having a hard time. So I guess we'll see a lot of actions through the whole week, and especially as we get closer to NFPs, and NFPs will see the moves. So that's as far as major currency pairs. This is something that's been a lot in the news, a Turkish lira. And take a look, I spoke with my team after this move down when we were around 111, 11 and a half. And I just said, of course, it's not a recommendation or anything, but I just said, you know, if somebody's looking for a nice risk to reward ratio, that 11 would be a nice buy, putting a stop at around 10 and then getting out at 13, and it played out nicely. So 3-to-1 ratio, it's always a good ratio to play. If you risk $1 to make 3 and it worked out nicely, let's see what's next. As of now, it reaches the level of initial where we stopped on this move before we went crazy to the upside. So the high here was 13, almost 13 and a half. And we actually hit that level on the last session of the year. So let's see how we play. But this level, 1348, 1349, is our next strong resistance on the USD TRY. And another thing, I just want to take a look, really quick look at the USD ZAR. USD ZAR acted a little bit strangely because when the dollar was strong, he actually went down against the ZAR. And after establishing this support here, which take a look, was a resistance, turned into support, went high, brought back, confirmed the support 15 around 1548, 1549, and we moved higher from here. So we know that this 1549 area is a strong support. Now we need to look what's next. If we're moving higher, or if we're bringing it closer, we know that this level was a very strong level to hold. So that's for those of you that tradings are. And that's it with Forex. Let's move to stocks. I just want to go in general through big boys and see how they really looking up. And let's see at Amazon. It was a selling week. Let's take a look at daily chart. We are in this area over here where was a lot of retesting, a lot of tails. 1330 area on Amazon. AT&T is holding here. Why I brought AT&T? It's one stocks of the list of some investors for the upcoming year. They said it's really undervalued, and Barron's been talking a lot about it, and they're looking possibly to buy this stock in the 2022. And take a look, after this recent move, we're really holding these gains. So that's AT&T. GM is another stock on the Barron's list for the 2022. That's why I brought it up also. It's been strong the past few days. Johnson & Johnson also on their list. Cisco is on my list. It's been very strong and was a very strong vertical move in the past 2 days, last 2 days of the year we've been selling. So I'm expecting a little bit of a correction on it, but 64 is the pretty much a high on the stock. Uber, we spoke about Uber, how the CEO was excited about it, and it was a very nice play. We came below around from 35 to about 44, about $9. It's a huge move percentage-wise. Now, the last week we didn't do much on it. It was actually giving up a little bit of the profits. Everybody's watching it on a possible continuation to the upside. At least we know we need to break 44 to the upside if we are. If not, to look up for some entries as we moving lower a little bit. Facebook, a lot of choppy trading here, a lot of gaps and so on. Now we just close the gap here. Tesla, it's a great stock. I love it a lot. I was just talking to someone. I don't think there's a city in the world where you don't see Tesla. It's a real, it's funny. I just want to share with you. Someone shared with me, or they asked me if I trade cryptos, and then ask me if I trade Tesla. They tried to compare two things, and I have nothing against cryptos, but I said, I don't see them driving on the street, and I do see Tesla, which is a real company having a real product. Speaking of which, they just Deutsche Bank just had the target for next target for Tesla at 1,200. So it's about $150 from here. We all know that this move happened when Musk announced he's selling 10% holding of his stock. Then here he announced that he stopped, he finished selling, and then we recovered nicely, and we are trading. The last closing was at 1,055. So Tesla is on the radar, of course. Even though last week they reported almost 500,000 cars, they had the recall, there's some issues with electrics. So we'll be watching, of course, Tesla as a very nice stock to watch. Walmart, a lot of actions here. We had a sell-off, all this sell-off when Amazon announced retail coming in. I think that was right here. And then we had the recovery, another retest. Now we're on the way to recovery again. a nice trading environment for people that are looking for day traders and midterm traders. Boeing, very sensitive to COVID. Hard to say what's next. It's of course a great stock, great product, but it all depends. Very sensitive what's happening with the traveling and airlines ordering planes and so on. Apple, almost $3 trillion company, having a hard time getting there. I think they need to reach price 183 or 186. I don't remember, to reach that milestone of 3 trillion. It's been very strong, and it is holding to these gains. There was a little bit of sell-off. We retested around 180. We're trading $3 lower as of Friday close. Microsoft also has been very strong, but we're having a hard time getting higher here around 344, 346 area. And the support, we had the double bottom here around 319, 318 area. So we'll be watching Microsoft for next moves. Google, zigzagging, holding strong. Netflix had a sell-off recently. If you see the daily chart, after making highs, we had a double top. We came back to retest 581, and we're around 600. Let's see what this year brings for Netflix. And we spoke about a week or 2 weeks ago, we spoke about financials that the upcoming year with interest rate increases, it could possibly or potentially be good for them. But as of now, they're really having a hard time recovering the recent sells. Citi, it's a flat week after the move higher, so we might see some build up to the upside. Goldman Sachs, it's holding after this choppy trading over here. And JP Morgan is also holding this level around 153 after the recent all-time highs. Disney still recovering from this drop. It's having a hard time breaking 155 in the last weeks. We're trading around 150, 155 area. GE, and nothing to talk about. Intel, I'm watching Intel. It's very interesting. After the sell-off, the stock really doesn't have any buying power. Nobody buys Intel here, which is weird because everybody talks about a shortage of chips and everything else. And Intel, it's a serious company, but as of now, nobody's buying it here. So it's really strange. Take a look on the daily chart, which is hitting 52 as a very strong resistance. And at the same time, we're not selling here. So to the upside, if the market has some power to go higher, if we finally close above 52, we might actually see a little bit of advanced move. Otherwise, the 49 is the next support over here. Pfizer, of course, very strong on the vaccine, and now the pills being approved recently by FDA. So we had a strong accumulation here at 52. We went to 60s. And now after a nice correction, we might see another wave to the upside on Pfizer. Now Snapchat and Twitter, they're still experiencing a lot of pressure to the downside. After a few attempts, they're making a lower lows, and Twitter is actually holding this 4170 area. And let's finish with cryptos. After this close about 50, everybody got excited that 100 is the next stop, figuratively speaking, but it didn't happen. We closed a few days later below 50, and then we retested 46. So we are between 46,000 and 50,000. As far as the weekly chart, it doesn't look that strong after this recent sell-off from the all-time highs. We are having a little bit of a consolidation here, and it doesn't look to the upside at all. So if we are bringing it below 46, we might see the move to 40,000, even 35,000. I don't want to predict or disappoint anybody, but that's the way it looks here. And Ethereum is a similar story over here. Okay, so let's just summarize. Let's summarize what we went through. And we are having an important week. That's the week of NFPs. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to be a lot of volatility. As the closer we get to the NFPs, the volatility will increase. And of course, during the time of the announcement, the volatility increases, and the most volatility is, of course, in US dollar indices, US indices mostly, and gold. Those are the instruments that reacting the most to it. So for those of you who trade, be prepared. We spoke about oil and natural gas for potential moves, and in general, we're entering the year of the interest rate increases and a mixed opinion of where the equity is going to be going. So it's going to be interesting how we start and what kind of direction we set up in January. So we are in the key month, we are in the key week, and I want to wish everyone again and a happy new year and successful year and a healthy year, and have a plan. Have a plan, stick to the plan, manage your risks, manage your equity, and manage yourself. All the best. Have a wonderful week. Take care.